most of the use cases with M365 Copilot have been meetings, of course. I think that's the one that gives immediately like hours of savings per week. For example, today I followed 3 meetings and then I just used 3 minutes to read through the meeting notes instead of sitting in 3 meetings, 3 1-hour-long meetings.
Hi, welcome back to the Teams Insider podcast. This week, a really great customer perspective on Copilot and Copilot adoption in a large financial organization. It is OP Financial Group, and we had Karoliina, who is head of modern work. Really interesting conversation. She's also an MVP, so very switched on as to what's going on in the space, and a really great perspective on the challenges and opportunities of Copilot, adoption, and agents. So I really hope you enjoy this conversation, and many thanks to Neat, who are the sponsor of this podcast. Really appreciate all their support. On with the show. Hi everybody, welcome back to the Teams Insider podcast. Excited to have this conversation. Karoliina and I have been going back and forth for a while trying to get dates in and stuff, so it's one I've wanted to have for a while. Karoliina, maybe we could start off by you introducing yourself and your role.
Cool, thank you Tom for inviting me, and I'm happy we found a time for this as well. I'm Karoliina Kettukari. I come from Finland. That's why I also have a difficult name to pronounce. I'm the head of modern work at OP Financial Group, which is the biggest financial services group in Finland. And basically, I'm responsible for all of our modern work, Teams adoption, M365, and of course, Copilot.
Awesome. And an MVP as well.
Just been renewed for the 6th year.
Awesome. It's rare. There's a rare breed of MVP that work customer side. So it's really interesting for me to talk to you in particular, because I feel like people that work customer side live with the decisions that they're kind of espousing and making and pushing through. It gives you a different perspective to the consulting side of the fence.
Yeah, I'm a recovering consultant, so I switched from consultancy, which I did for about 10 years, to the customer side about 10 months ago. So this is fairly new to me.
And how did you find the transition?
I think it was pretty smooth, actually, because the basic things, so for example, Teams adoption, modern work best practices, Copilot, I've been doing all of those things as a consultant before. So basically it was more about how to create a strategy and a vision for one company. And then, as you said, I have to live with my decisions. So we also have to execute the things we have in our roadmap.
Yeah, I think it's very easy as a consultant to come in and espouse a lot of advice and be like, this is going to be the best thing, and then on to the next gig. So actually living with the decisions and having to drive the result, not just recommend the result, I think is really interesting.
Yeah, and as a consultant, even I was never about the person who was the biggest and the hype. So I always wanted to have like concrete results. But even though when your consultancy gig is maybe for 3 months or 6 months, then you never maybe see the client again. So it's a very different point of view coming in as an external consultant than as an opposite to like actually living the reality inside an organization. Awesome.
And OP Financials, for people who don't know it, quite a big organization, isn't it?
Yeah, we have about 20,000 employees. So basically about 14,000 of our own, and then about 5,000 to 6,000 external employees, which mostly work as part of our team. So yeah, quite a big in a Finnish scale as well.
Awesome. So you mentioned it at the start, like modern work, Copilot, obviously AI is the big conversation. I'd love to get your perspective on how you thought about that strategically, what you're doing inside the organization, good points, bad points. Like it's so interesting. It's such a hot topic, and particularly in financial, it's interesting because I think it's going to be hugely disruptive to that space, but also there's all the regulation and all the considerations there.
Yeah, and I think we had a great start in the beginning because our CEO, our top management, has always been very eager on utilizing new technologies. We have a very strong background with Microsoft, for example. We are doing cloud journeys to Azure, etc. So we have had a very good basics which to build on.
Yeah.
And then when Copilot came in 2023, almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast it's been. It's like how long it's been and how short it's been all in the same breath.
It feels like 5 years, I think. But we started accumulating more licenses in the fall of 24, and now we have licensed about half of our normal employees, which is quite a lot, so to say. And I think it's mostly thanks to the eagerness of our top management and also the eagerness of our employees. So our employees are very excited to use new technologies, and we want to give them the tools and hope they don't go to ChatGPT, for example.
Yeah. And how's the adoption been? Because it's super interesting. Like, this conversation about AI is like, it's going to change everything. You need to get on it. And at the same time, it's a real, or I feel like, I'll be interested in your take, a real effort to get sustained adoption and cultural change.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting topic because, of course, we have the first teams who are very eager, very competent, already building agents in Copilot Studio, etc. And then we have the big masses who are just thinking about what should I prompt with Copilot. So the scale of different users and the scale of knowledge is very, very large in our organization. I think in any organization has the same thing. And we've been trying to have very different kinds of support methods, different kinds of trainings, ideation, workshops, etc., so that every different person, every different type of learner can find something they can relate to, and they take just one thing with them to the next working day.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about it like that, because you've kind of got the super forward-leaning people within any cohort or organization, and actually they're probably already playing with ChatGPT or Gemini or something, and they're coming back to the organization saying, I want to do this, let me do this, can I do that? Like they're pushing the boundaries. So that's one type of conversation. And then people who haven't yet got there in their personal life, actually you're starting from a different position, and they're not chasing you for the technology, it's the other way around. You're trying to espouse the value. Yeah,
but I've been working with modern work technologies for over a decade, and this has been the first time people come so eagerly to us to say that, hey, give us trainings, give us the license, I want to try this, I want to do this. So it's been very nice to see this kind of progressive thoughts, or also from those kind of knowledge workers who usually are busy with everything else than technology.
Yeah, it's nice when the area you work in becomes kind of mainstream important to the business, in the sense of the business know it's going to impact individuals as well. Things are changing. I need to be on the front of this, not the back of it. It's rare. I think, well, certainly in my, almost 2 decades of kind of working with organizations, it's rare where you're the hot topic. We saw it with Teams during COVID, right? Suddenly everybody was like, oh, I need to get this working. It's really important to the business. And I feel like it's even more so with AI, particularly in knowledge work type scenarios. Everybody's aware it's going to have an impact. So actually, on a personal level, they want to be on the front of that conversation, not being disrupted themselves by it.
Yeah, and we also have quite a lot of conversations where people are actually worried that am I behind? Is it too late for me to start using Copilot? So we're trying to calm them down and tell them it's okay. You can start right now. You can start tomorrow. You can start even next week, and you will get along with aboard the train.
Yeah. How's it been for your organisation in terms of the M365 Copilot license versus Copilot Chat? Have you got different users using both of those? How's that worked out? Yeah,
we have about 50% of users, the amount of users who are using licensed version. We have about 50% of them who are using a chat version. So, for example, the imaginary numbers. If we have 10,000 licensed users, on top of that, we also have 5,000 users using the chat.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that's free/included in your costs, and actually there's quite a lot of value to be gained out of chat. I'm not seeing many organizations like they're doing work around the M365 Copilot because they've invested the money in the license, they want to drive it, but actually there's a tier of users that can still get value out of Copilot chat, and they're the type of users that potentially are the business risk of jumping to the consumer versions of other products and actually the data getting into the wrong place. So it's interesting to see how many organizations are saying, like, actually there's value to be had here even without the $30 per month Copilot, M365 Copilot license.
And we believe that we have some roles or people in the organization who are fine with like just a chat version. Because, for example, most of their work or documents are in our customer systems or customer solutions. So in that case, they don't even... They can't even use the M365.
Yeah, they're not getting much upside of an embedded experience in Word or Excel or Outlook if they live in the line of business app.
Yeah. So that's why we also want to give trainings and inform people about the chat version as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned agents at the start of the conversation. That's really progressive from what I see in organizations. Like Microsoft are hammering on agents. And I think part of that for Microsoft is user adoption is hard. If we can find automated business use cases, we can find additional value fast. Is that fair? Like how much has been user use cases versus kind of Microsoft or the business saying, can we automate this process?
Yeah, agents have been a hot topic for, I don't know, about half a year maybe. And I think they are like the next step for what's to come. What we have at the moment, what users can do at the moment, it's not that great. You can basically create an agent which does have some good meta prompts, like background information for your agent, and that's a nice tool for your own team. Or, for example, myself, I use a lot of the researcher and analyst agents. They work really well.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like business processes, then we go to Copilot Studio, and then it's not that simple anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting, this kind of, again, like pitch of like everybody's going to create these agents and processes, but the big jump between very basic use cases and then into low code, no code, and then into pro code, and that kind of, that journey it accelerates quite quickly.
Yeah, I think when we have discussions with end users, they have great use cases. So they have amazing use cases for agents, but I think 9 out of 10 of those use cases, we stop there because we can't use Copilot, like Agent Builder, to build that use case. And then you have to jump to the studio, and it's the money, and it's the licensing, and it's you really have to have the technical capabilities to use that.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be a place in organizations for kind of a specialist team that is like part of IT that actually is going in and helping bring those solutions through? I can see a case where you could have, we used to see it with low code, no code, potentially kind of tiger teams going around being like, I can build a power app for that process for you. Like the marketing team aren't going to build it, but they could use it. I feel like there might be the same use case with agentic workflows.
I really hope that, because, for example, our team, our modern work team, we are like that for Teams or Copilot or M365. So people come to us, and we have trainings, we have the workshops, we do a lot of talking in different events internally. So I really hope that in the future we also have those, like Copilot Studio internal consultants going around different teams.
It's an interesting funding conversation from an internal point of view of like, where's that cost go? But if you could get that team humming, they could potentially move between departments, between locations, and even if they're picking off, like, it doesn't have to be world-changing end-to-end automations. It can just be time-saving pieces for different departments that can really add up, I think.
Yeah, and I think that from an internal point of view, I think like many consultants are doing that at the moment, and of course want to help companies doing that.
Yeah.
But from an internal point of view, when it comes to like business processes, it's quite a difficult task to come into a finance organization and try to gather all the information about regulations and everything. So it's actually easier to do that kind of role internally.
I would 100% agree. Like the best consultant in the world, they're time bound, so they can only spend so long with each person. Then they present the result. What tends to happen with these processes is you build the V1 and then the person uses it and they go, oh, I forgot. There's this exception and there's this use case and that use case. And then 6 months later, the business process has changed for some external reason. So actually now I need you to tweak the solution again because it used to be PDFs, but now we're using online forms or whatever it may be. So I think it's great. Consulting is great for here's what's possible, here's an example. Or if you're in a long-term engagement, then you're the equivalent of getting to know the people. But I would agree with you, like the potential of also for the business trusting a new process and knowing they can go back to Sarah in 6 months and be like, it's not working for us, can you change it? Like that trust of there's someone going to support us in the future as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So digging back into the M365 Copilot, as much as you can share, what have been the hero use cases or experiences that have really caught on with the users?
We've done some research. So we have used the analytics Microsoft is giving us, and also we have done some our own end user research. And most of the use cases with M365 Copilot have been meetings, of course. I think that's the one that gives immediately like hours of savings per week if you use it correctly. That's one.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it's a problem nearly everybody has is too many meetings, meeting minutes, summaries. Like apparently internally, like the Microsoft numbers, that's the one that gets the biggest immediate hit because it's just obvious value.
Yeah. For example, today I followed 3 meetings. And then I just used 3 minutes to read through the meeting notes instead of sitting in 3 meetings, 3 1-hour-long meetings.
That's amazing. Yeah. Most of my meetings are with customers, so it's harder for me to skip them. But this is, again, the benefits of being internal.
Yeah. Other things, I think it's been a lot about summarizing content, comparing 2 documents, like very... should I say basic but important personal productivity stuff. So you can't really judge by use case if it's useful or not. It depends so much on your personal role and what you're doing in your day-to-day job. But I think we are on the verge of moving from like small personal use cases to bigger, for example, team-related use cases or more complex processes, for example, regarding risk and compliance documents or something you can't actually work with Copilot.
Yeah, the technology is getting better for the multiplayer use cases as well. So things like facilitator in meetings versus your personal Copilot experience or agents in teams where multiple people can engage. It still feels like we're feeling out what multiplayer AI looks like. We've had pages, we've now got notebooks. Like there's, I still feel like we're in a phase of like throwing things out and being like, do people like working together like this or like this?
Yeah, and it's a very interesting point from adoption point of view. We don't even try to educate or inform people about every single new functionality. No one has the time.
Yeah.
So we try to focus on showcasing the basic use cases. And then when someone goes to, hey, what's this notebook? We can tell about it or like refer to some link, but it's not something we try to like cover on an everyday basis.
That's super interesting, actually, because also there's a bit of I feel like there's a risk there, and more with Microsoft than there used to be, that they're experimenting. So actually you could go out and just, do a big pitch on Notebook, and then in 3 months' time they're like, that's not the thing now, this is the thing. We saw scheduled prompts and Copilot actions and the changes there. So there's some safety to going with the fundamentals and letting, because if someone's come to you to ask, by definition they're that little bit more interested, I guess.
Yeah. And of course we are working in a very regulated business areas. So we have to go through quite a lot of processes before we can give the tools to our end users. I'm really happy that, for example, Copilot is now accepted as a formal tool, but then when it comes to, for example, interpreter agents. So can we allow users to try that out right away? Do we have to go through yet another process? There will be interesting lines to be drawn, which is a new functionality and which actually is like a new product you have to get accepted.
Yeah, and typically the compliance audit log conversation tends to lag the features when Microsoft are moving fast as well. So they're like, here's a new thing, like audit log coming soon. It's like, well, that's out for us straight away.
Yeah.
You know? And how do you, I know you've got an inside track, right, because you're an MVP and you're super involved in the community and with Microsoft, but how do you deal with this flow of constant change and choosing what to communicate and what not to communicate? How's that work internally? We
try to keep things as simple as we can to the end users. So if you are a pro user, we have a lot of documentation, we have a lot of links, we had a lot of trainings of our own and from our partners as well. But for the normal end user who has 10 minutes in a day to learn something new, we try to advertise or communicate, do this thing, or this is now important, try this prompt, for example. So as boring as it may seem, the answer really is try to keep it very, very simple and focus on 1, 2, 3 most important things.
And is that like email? Is that I was about to say Yammer, like Viva Engage, video? What modality are you using to get that information to the users?
Yeah, we have a Copilot support team in Teams, actually. We do have a Viva Engage, and it's quite an active community. We do have a group in there as well. But actually, the Teams team was grounded when we had this pilot phase going on, and then it just grew.
Yeah.
So I would recommend, as a modern work best practice, I would recommend an open group, such as Engage group. But we have both. And then, of course, news in our internet.
And have you found any good way for your users to share their use cases with each other? I felt like a lot of organizations are scrambling to kind of do best practice prompts or workflows or use cases.
We do have the same problem, actually. We have had, for example, competitions in our Teams channel, like share your best prompt or try this and then you'll get a sticker or whatever. And some people are eager to share their ideas. But what has worked the best, actually, is that we have tried to encourage teams, single teams in our organization, to have take 10 minutes in your weekly or in your monthly and share one use case. And that's been working really, really well, because then you know your audience. It's easy for you to share, and then you all know the context. You can discuss about the prompt or the use case. So team-based use case sharing has been very successful.
And that's interesting. Makes sense, I guess. It's hyper relevant and understandable. Whereas actually, if it's the finance team sharing a use case with the HR team, they're like, well, great, we don't deal with that scenario. It can be hard to make the leap to how I might apply that capability to my part of the business.
Yeah, the sad part is that then we don't have the organization-wide prompt or use case library, but we try to gather those in our surveys.
Yeah,
as well.
I feel like there's something missing there. I'm not sure what the answer is, but there's something missing for this organizational library. And maybe it will come to the product at some point, but here's the best practice prompts and use cases across the org, because there's so much value there. And there are individuals within the organization who are absolutely really pushing the value and really getting great use out of it. How do you replicate that across the org?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing so much insight. It's really nice to hear, again, someone living with it, pushing the journey, and kind of, I know you're you're kind of really into everything around it. So I 100% trust your thoughts and opinions on what's working and what's not. So thanks for sharing.
I had to live with my opinions.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, I'd love to have you back in sometime. Maybe we give it a bit of time and see how the agent adoption's going, and then have that conversation in 6 months or a year or something.
Yes, of course. I'm happy to share my experiences.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Cool. Thank you so much.